All right, guys, listen. Getting ahead of everybody else, getting ahead of 99.9% of your peers, the people around you, the people in your city, even your family members, your classmates is dead easy. It's literally never been easier in today's generation. And I'm gonna explain why should you listen to me. Okay, so I was just a regular average kid, grew up in a small town, a small fishing village just outside of Vancouver. Okay. And right now I should be graduating from college and getting my first job ever, making maybe a few $1,000s a month if I'm lucky, which by the way can barely cover living expenses. I'm talking about bare bones rent and a little bit of food every single month in the city that I live in, which is Vancouver. It's notoriously one of the most expensive cities in Canada and even North America, especially relative to how much money people make here. It's not a city like New York or Los Angeles where you have a lot of, big tech companies and the opportunity to make, six figures fresh out of college. It doesn't really happen here. Most people, they start at $50,000, $60,000 a year, Canadian dollars, by the way, which is like 40K, 35K US with the horrible exchange rate right now. And they work their way up and hope that one day when they're 40, 50, they can make a six-figure income and then maybe retire at 60 or 70 and do a little bit of traveling. Like that's the general consensus. And so that's where I should be right now. And even my parents wanted me to go down that route because the people who don't go down that route, they end up as, our street cleaners and construction workers and our blue collar workers. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just sad that these people make $30,000 a month. I mean, $30,000 a year, sorry, have to live so far out of the city, commute every single day, trade 9, 10 hours a day, including, commuting time, for such little pay, and then have to live in such shitty accommodation, not even eat good or clean food. And I mean, trust me, I have friends like this. I've seen it all the time. It's a sad, sad reality. And it's because of the current state of our world. The rich are getting richer and everybody else, the poor and the middle class, are living worse and worse every single year. And inflation's gone through the roof. Housing costs have gone through the roof, especially in Canada and Vancouver, where I live. There's a lot of foreign investment. There's a lot of international wealth coming in, flooding the market, taking over. There's a housing crisis in Canada in general. And people are having to move farther and farther away from the places that they grew up in. They, once got to call home because even if they followed the same trajectory their parents went on, they can't afford to live in the same place or have the same quality of life with the rising costs of everything else around them. But regardless of that, I actually think that it's never been a better or more opportunistic time for people like myself, young people, to break free of those norms because we're headed in a new direction. As a society, as a world, we're literally headed in a direction where technology has taken over. The internet, the virtual reality, the virtual world that we all live in on our phones constantly is became more important and more relevant than our actual physical world. Okay. And so there's a lot of changes that have came with this. And now there's with AI and all these advanced the everyday person can't even keep up with, let alone people who are at the forefront and who are working with it every single day. There's still a million different things happening. There's a short period of time. But bottom line, long story short, what I'm trying to say here is that we're in a revolution. Like we're in a revolutionary period. And so any time in history where there's been a revolutionary period and all the norms and what's considered the right route and the safe path and all of that is just going to be blown out of the water, and there's going to be a new generation with new workers, a new workforce, a new way of doing life, a new education system, possibly, who knows, right? A lot of big changes coming our way in the next couple decades. I'm sure we've already all bared witness to some of these rapid changes that have happened in our life in even the past 5 years, 10 years. I mean, it was barely 15 years ago that the very first iPhone came out. So think about how much we progressed as a society in such a short period of time. It's kind of scary, actually. What is also really exciting about this, on the other side of things, is that we now have a choice. We have the opportunity to, I guess, live like our parents' generation and follow their footsteps and, what society is still deeming as the right path for us because we don't really even know. All the people that love us, that tell us, they want the best for us, and there's nothing against them pushing us to do various different things with their life because they simply love us and they want us to succeed. They want us to be happy. They want us to have good food in front of us, a good roof over our head. So you can't blame these people. But the fact of the matter is, actually, as a civilization, I don't think in history we've ever progressed as fast as we're progressing right now. And when I say progressed, I mean like the human species are reaching new levels of advancement that is, one day going to allow us to become more efficient and have a more efficient use of our planet and develop new technology that's going to allow us to make more discoveries, possibly, become an interstellar species one day. I'm talking about this kind of advancement. We're moving at an incredibly fast rate right now. And along with that, it's shaking up, the world as we know it today. And so all of this to say that why it's so easy for us, for people like myself who have made millions of dollars in such a short period of time, is because everybody right now is so focused on going to school, getting that job, making decent amount of money, and they're stuck. They're stuck because, there's something called the loss aversion principle. Okay. And so this is where humans basically, as a species, and this is programmed into us for evolutionary and biological reasons, but we tend to want to hold on to, let's say, what we have or a smaller amount of gains that is guaranteed and that is safe instead of, something more explosive, instead of the potential and the possibility of reaching out and grabbing something that is 5 times or 10 times better than what is currently in front of us. And so because everybody's so focused on holding on to what we currently have and that last little bit of, maybe we can do this and we can get our education, we can make this money and we can, live in a nice place. And they're holding on to that last little bit of hope that is still there and is still possible for some people, although maybe not the majority, that everybody is just looking away from what's really going on here. And what's really going on here is a shit ton of new opportunity for people like you, for people like me of any age, but especially for the younger generation to grab hold of and change the course of their entire life along with a rapidly changing world. Right. And it's not only that, it's that, you know, in the modern world, we face so many more challenges. I'm not gonna say challenge, like, look, we've came a long way as a society. So the type of challenges we face today and the type of challenges we faced 100 years ago or 500 years ago are completely different. But now one of our challenges that is, I guess you could say, more difficult in a sense is technology, right? It's these guys. This is causing so many issues. And why? It's because we've evolved as a species to, um, how do I put this in simple terms? We've evolved to do a large amount of work up front. So to grind, to put in hours, to move our body, to go out in the world and traverse space and go and hunt food and do all these things to get that little bit of dopamine at the end of a long, hard road, eat our food, enjoy our meal, go to sleep, put some shelter over our head. That's what we've evolved to do. Like that's our biological brain. So what's happened now is in the modern world, things are so comfortable, generally speaking, for the majority of sort of first world or westernized countries, that we always have a roof over our head. We always have some source of water. I mean, here in Canada, you can drink from the tap, and it's like some of the cleanest water in the world. We always have some kind of food available. Granted, it's not 5 star or 3 star Michelin dining, but it's something that we can eat that's relatively inexpensive because of business, because of capitalism. Everybody has just constantly solved so many problems over the course of the past few hundred years that the solutions are all around us. And regardless of our income level, we can satisfy our basic needs. And so now what's happened is that cell phone use and social media use and TV and video games and all this stuff has hijacked our brain and our dopamine receptors, in which our biological brain wasn't prepared for that. We cannot, we weren't built for this, and you can see that most of the people in my generation, so I'm Gen Z, born in 2001, most people who've grown up in my age are cooked. Like they're raw, they've fallen in the trap of brain rot and they scroll TikTok every single day. I'm sure you've seen these kind of videos talking about there's a good Netflix documentary called the Social Dilemma, which talks about how these massive social media corporations have literally dove into neuroscience and used all of these sort of crazy tactics to hijack our attention spans and keep us constantly fixated, swiping whatever app we're on, looking for that next little hit of dopamine in our life, especially in those mundane moments, constantly throughout our day. And what that's done to us is that that's triggered our dopamine receptors so hard, which has made us all like these drug addicts that are constantly going about our life every single day, craving stimulation, and nobody can sit in their own thoughts and sit with boredom and actually get undistracted, focused work done. And every single day, more and more kids, more and more people are being prescribed as having ADHD. And I think there's a massive link, and I think it's clear for everybody. There's a link between all this stimulation we have in the modern world and not being able to focus or not being able to put attention to the things that we really want to for those long-term payoffs or delayed gratification versus short-term gratification. So if you can understand this principle and do some more research about it, don't just take it from a guy just yapping on YouTube for a bit. Because obviously this is all coming from my experience, and you should synthesize a wealth of different experiences and a wealth of different knowledge and professionals and bring it all into your own opinion and form your own sort of viewpoint around this stuff. But if you can understand that principle or that whole concept and idea, and then actually take steps towards, you know, unfrying your brain if you can by, let's say, deleting social medias, removing these apps, cutting down screen time, installing some Google Chrome extensions that get rid of all the flashy ads and pop-ups and YouTube thumbnails and all this stuff that's going to, constantly grab our attention. Then that's sort of step one. So step one is kind of minimizing the amount of things that are in front of you, constantly distracting you. And this also includes like cleaning up your environment. So making sure that when you walk into your room every day, you're not bombarded with your phone and your laptop and your TV screen and all this stuff. So you can actually think and possibly then take the next step, which is start to, chip away at your goals and actually get a little bit of work done. Because if you can get through this hurdle of sort of step one, you're already beating, like I said, 99% of people who are just consumed by doom scrolling, consumed by instant gratification activities, and all the things you can do on the internet, on social media, video games, and TV, and all this stuff now that's ran by all these multi-billion-dollar corporations that's stealing your attention and in turn making a lot of money off of it. But if you can reclaim some of that power and you can put that focus and that power back into creating a life that you actually want and focus on the goals that, yes, are farther away, but knowing that if you take those steps daily, it's never been easier time. It's literally, there's never been an easier time. Like you have people like me, and you're probably sitting here thinking, how is this guy sitting in a multimillionaire, or how's this guy sitting in a multi-million dollar, sub penthouse over the top of his entire city right now? How does he drive a Lamborghini? How does he have, hundreds of thousands of dollars in personal assets and millions of dollars in investments and businesses worth millions of dollars and all of this stuff? Um, and because, you see me and you're like, okay, this guy is not particularly any smarter than me. He doesn't seem, at least on the surface, to have any hidden talents. I wasn't given any money. I didn't have any connections in the industry, nothing like that. I started from scratch as $0 by myself. Okay. And so this is the stuff that I really figured out that put me on that path in the first place. And so step one was just kind of cleaning up my environment, getting rid of distractions, reclaiming my focus, and realizing that if I do these things, I'm already ahead of everybody else in my generation, right? Okay, and so now we move to step two, which is it's not enough to talk about just optimizing your environment and, manifesting your dream reality and having vision boards and cutting distractions so you can meditate and focus in on this new life you want to create for yourself. You heard all of this. It's not enough. Why? Because even though 99% of people won't even get to step one because they're so consumed by everything that goes on in their day-to-day life and they're constantly busy, even if they're not, there still are, tons of people actively trying to create a better life for themselves, trying to create more money, create more wealth, to live in abundance and get whatever it is they desire, to do whatever it is they desire in their life. There's still enough people trying. And so you're still going to need to stand out. You need to have a competitive edge. You need to do something differently. Okay. And so that's where step two comes in, which is basically just picking one thing and sort of going all in on it. So the next sort of drop off point that I see with everyone in our generation is that they try all these things. They're like, yeah, I can get rich because they see all this stuff on social media. Again, open Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. They're constantly seeing wins and successes of meme coin traders and millionaire drop shippers. Maybe I'm guilty on that one. And agency owners making 100 grand a month, and they just jump from thing to thing. And then when nothing ever works for them because they get beat by their competition, they come back and they say everything's a scam. I should have just stuck to the original path. And then they go back and they do exactly what the fuck they were doing, sitting on their ass all day scrolling TikTok, the original path, right? Like we all know, like yes, we go to school and we work hard, but really, what are we doing in our lecture halls? What are we doing in our classes? We're sitting there in our phone, trying to get that dopamine hit while we're avoiding our boring professor talking the whole time. Like, let's be honest, guys. Be honest with yourself. This is what happens for 80%, 90% of your day. If you don't believe me, pull out your phone right now and check your goddamn screen time, because I can promise you, no matter how busy and how great, your life is following this path, you're still distracted. And even if you're not, like I said, there's enough competition out there that you're still going to get killed if you're not following step two, which is basically, yet again, don't get distracted. But it really is just pick one thing and go all in on it for an extended period of time. See those outsized returns. It doesn't matter what you do. I've met some really dumbass millionaires. Like I wouldn't consider myself the smartest person in the world either. But I do think I'm capable to be doing what I have done and what I'm currently doing, if that makes sense. But there's people that I see and I'm like, yeah, how did he get here? But then I think about it and I'm like, well, he followed step one. So he committed to being a better version of himself. He cut out distractions, whatever. And then step two is he picked one thing, he went all in on it, and he was delusional about it. Okay. So delusional confidence in going all in on one thing for an extended period of time, no matter how stupid you are. And sometimes it is the stupidest people, because they're the ones who are most likely to be delusional and going all in on their goals that actually end up making it. These are the people that come out on top, that become millionaires, that become the best in the world at what they do. It's not the smartest people. It's people who are delusionally confident in themselves and pick one thing and go all in on it to become an expert in that one niche or that one field or even that one problem that they want to solve. And then they go and they build a business around it and they make millions of dollars and they build a personal brand and they app about it on YouTube. And even if they're not the smartest or most talented or most gifted or have the most money to their name, they get it done because of step two, right? So step two, going all in, one thing, committing, locking in, doesn't matter what that thing is. I'm not here to tell you today that dropshipping is the best business model. You should follow my exact path, because truth be told, everything works if you are the kind of person that will make it work no matter what, and you won't give up, you won't fail, and most importantly, you won't get shiny object syndrome and look at every single other thing that you could be doing right now, because you understand that the time and the effort you're putting are just a sacrifice. And when I was doing this, when I was dropshipping when I was 18, I was losing a couple $100 every single day. But what I told myself is, yeah, all my friends, my peers are out there making a couple $100 a night working as a server, but they're going to be stuck doing that in 10 years. And guess what? I'm spending a couple $100 a night, but I'm spending that money to learn, to get to the next level, to fail and fail and fail again until I succeed. And I told myself one day it will pay off. One day I will make a shit ton. I'll make exponentially more money than I'm currently making because of all of this work. And guess what? I was right. And then, that takes me to like the final step here, which is more tactical than the first two steps. The first two steps is, yes, it's about reprogramming your entire mind. And then, like I said, you're already ahead of 99.9% people if you can do that, because everybody else, their mind is fried. And I don't necessarily blame them. Society, the modern society has made it so hard for our brains not to be fried. Just so big hacked our biology and hacked the way that we've evolved to make us constantly consuming, right? So now step three, or I guess step one and step two, to sum that all up in like two words, create over consume. Make that your motto. Think about it daily. Think about every morning. Today, I want to be a creator. I don't want to be a consumer. And if you can constantly put that little habit and reminder into your head, you might notice yourself putting down the phone. You might notice yourself picking up a book and writing and reading and figuring out what that next step is in your life and what you want to do, and actually having those hard conversations with yourself. Because remember, you're a creator. You're here to create and bring your unique skills, advantages, and abilities into this world to one day do something big, or actually realize and achieve those dreams that you've always had since you were a little kid, or whatever it may be. Okay. So then step three is finding somebody else who's walked the path that you want to go down. So let's say you found your one thing and emulating them exactly. So this is something that it kind of baffles me, like how many people don't understand this concept. But look, you're not going to be a Mark Zuckerberg or a Bill Gates out the gate. You're just not. You have to realize that you're starting at level one. I mean, sure, maybe there is a handful of people who will go on to develop, the next Facebook or the next Google, the next Microsoft, and they're just some kind of brainiac genius. But we're not those people. At least I'm not. And I imagine most of my audience is not some hyper genius, because that hyper genius probably wouldn't even be watching YouTube content in the first place. Like, let's be honest here. And there's nothing against watching it. You're in the right place if you're watching this. But what I'm saying is it's just so rare for that to happen, that why are you betting all your horses on become building the next Facebook and eating ramen noodles for the next, 10 years of your life? Because 99% of those people end up crashing and burning anyway. It's not smart. That being said, if you are delusional enough, go for it. But I think there's a better route to attaining whatever it is that you want, and that is to find to the closest person that has whatever you want. So if you want to, have an exotic fleet of supercars when you're 25 or 30, find somebody who's 25 or 30 who has an exotic fleet of supercars, ideally who started on their own by themselves. It was in a similar position to you, and see exactly what moves on the chessboard they made and just copy it, guys. People do, I do this all the time. Look at my YouTube channel. A lot of videos that perform very well for me, I've just copied somebody else's video. Sure, I've thrown in my own original stuff from time to time. I've twisted things, I've made things better, I've added my own spin on it, but I'm always looking out to see what are other people doing and what can I emulate that's going to get me the results that they got. It's simple. Go through your whole life doing that. Go to the gym, and if you're a little bit out of shape, a little bit overweight, find the biggest, strongest guy, the guy that you want to be like in the gym, and go ask him and say, "Hey, like I would really like to build a physique like yours one day. I'd really like to, get as good at boxing as you one day. What is it that you did?" And then he might say, "Hey, I signed up to this boxing gym, and this is where I trained 3 times a week. I'd recommend you give them a call." And then you call them and you go and you follow his exact process, and I'm sure you'll get similar results. You have to, unless this guy is born some freak, which again, most people who are successful are not. Um, you follow that exact process, and so this is why I wanted to make this video, guys. For you, I have nothing to sell you. It's completely raw. I just decided to sit down and turn on the camera. Because truly it is so easy. It's never been easier because everybody's swept up in everything that's going on right now. All you have to do is gain some clarity, reprogram your mind, and emulate and follow in the footsteps of whatever it is that you want in life. And I can almost promise you that if you do this, and if you have a mindset of, it's not if, but when I'll be successful, you'll get there and you'll get everything you want. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy these kind of raw videos on this second channel of mine. So leave a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Comment something down below. Let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see next. But yeah, that's it for me. Peace.